Hi, Diane. Welcome to my podcast, Chai Time with Prabhleen. And I'm so excited to have you today. Here we have Diane. And Diane is an NLP coach that is Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And today she's here to talk about how we can incorporate NLP in our daily lives and businesses. And here to Diane. Would you tell me a little bit about yourself?
First of all, thank you so much, Prabhleen, for inviting me, and I'm super excited to be on this podcast. And I admire you, and I love what you're doing for businesses, for people out there to be more successful, to learn new things. I'm a big advocate for keeping up on my learning and always open to learning more and more, as it's never, I am the guru. As Tony Robbins would say, I'm not a guru.
Yes. Yeah.
And I have been working in the NLP now for a decade and bring it into my business. And it has been a game changer, not only for my business, but also for my personal life and my client. Prior to being a coach, I worked in, first of all, going way back, right after high school, I got right involved into the Open Learning Agency.
Okay.
For 15 years, I worked there, working in the technologies and also in the training field of helping people with learning computers and the latest greatest technology. And then I had children.
Yeah.
Went on 2 maternity leaves and needed to think of a way that I could be home with the children.
Yes.
And I only think about that maybe moving away from Vancouver.
Is that so?
Yeah, moving away from Vancouver so that we could be, so my husband could be close to work and I could stay home.
Right.
So we moved to a town called St. Albert, just outside of Edmonton. And so here I am now in this cul-de-sac. Been working since I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
And I just was satisfied. I was a mom.
Yeah.
I got to be home with
I
my
completely agree with you, Diane, because I did the same thing. I had this architectural background and I used to have this 9-to-5 job. And once I had my son, and he's 5 now, he's turning 5 in July. And I was like, I have to stay with him. I have to spend more time with him because these are the most important years until 11, right? When they're growing and you need a one solid figure at home where they can come back from school and you're present. And as a mother, I completely understand that is, how you have felt. And
So I can go right back there to remember those days so quickly. So I found out that my husband's receptionist was in direct sales.
Okay.
And it was candles. So I thought, oh, wow, wouldn't it be great? I can get a bunch of candles for Christmas because it was November. And I thought, okay, I'll do this. I'll do this show. And then I had been in Moms and Tots, and I was in all these new things. Being new to Alberta, being new to the community. I had joined all of these things. I forgot what the name of that was now. It was Newcomers Club. It was a Newcomers Club. So I had invited everybody to my party. I got it very correctly. I brought everyone to my party, and it was a real successful show. And then just as the consultant was leaving, she said, hey, have you ever thought about doing this? And I teach computers and that, but it's mostly at that time one-on-one and the training, and I'm too shy and it's not. So if you just do 10 shows and then you'll get the kit for free, and so I thought, what do I have to lose? I'm home every day, the kids are in school, why not start something? So I started with this, and I did my 10 shows, and those turned into 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 shows, and then I built teams, many teams, then I created leaders to those teams, and it was huge, and I win trips, and I go off to different places and for training, I win training, and just amazing training. And now that I see that training, now that I understand that training, now looking back, I go, wow, there was a lot of neuro-linguistic programming in that training.
Wow.
is very powerful. So many times neuro-linguistic programming is being utilized, trained, but people don't
Know about it.
necessarily
Yes.
say that it's that, or tell people that they're using it when
yes.
they're doing workshops or seminars.
True.
So a lot of times, like I think even Jack Canfield, he says too that yes, a lot of this is neuro-linguistic programming, and Tony Robbins, huge in neuro-linguistic programming, and he sets anchors all the time for and utilizes it. And there was a big history on this as well. And I'm not going to go into the whole history of neuro-linguistic programming. You can look up Richard Bandler and John Grinder and also, other people that had been involved in this. But the two main founders of neuro-linguistic programming is John Grinder and Richard Bandler. So I won't bore you with the history on that. However, they did follow a lot of psychiatrists, psychologists, hypnotherapists. They followed them and watched what they did. They microbed how they got the best results.
Right.
How did they do that? And then they coded it and they put it down as a strategy. And there's certain presuppositions that we follow, because presuppositions is one thing that we really get into the clarity of it. We chunk down to specifics to make sure that the problem is really the problem, or the challenge is really the challenge. Because at the surface, it's not necessarily the problem.
Yes.
And many times when I'll have a client that it's about business, we end up chunking down, and it turns out that it's a deeper situation, say within the family or other things that are involved. So what I love about the trainings of being a coach, utilizing neuro-linguistic programming, is we're taught to see the whole person, and we utilize the technique that is who we are still.
Yes.
We're still having that inner wisdom, and my language too is also God. So I actually have the downloads, and this is not part of NLP, but the God words, but I believe too that the other person has their own source, whatever that may be.
Yeah, your intuition, you can call it, or
And the hardest part I find in coaching is not to impose something that's happened to me. Oh, this happened to me with my daughter, so that's probably what's happening to you as well with your daughter. So do this and this. No, it's never.
Because I have actually experienced that one time with this therapist, and then she even said to me, she said, this happened to me and we're going through this. And she connected herself. She wasn't able to disconnect herself with her story and mine, and which did not work out well. So I completely get that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that person can really get thrown off into the bushes.
Yes.
End up leaving a relationship, or they could end up going on to a different business.
Right.
Maybe this one was the right one, and then now they're off into the bushes over here because of the imposition.
Yes.
And I've talked to many counselors and psychotherapists, and they said the old school kind of way of doing things, it just wasn't that way. We did a lot of comparing.
Yes.
Comparing other clients, but not the uniqueness. And that sometimes can be a struggle when you're doing group coaching, because there's so many different elements to each individual.
That is what I call stare decisis, right? So following the former decision. And that's how even in code system, they changed everything and brought equity. You have to be based, sometimes the old comparison, it doesn't work in that particular situation. You have to come up with a different solution. Yeah, that is so true. The old ways, it's like comparing one case to the another.
And many times when I have coaches as clients, they tell me too, that's the hardest thing, to leave your map of your world behind, and to be open and seeing that person as a whole, complete person, and being connected to them and what is their map of the world by asking qualifying, strategic questions that go deeper in. And sometimes that's very uncomfortable. And you must have a lot of rapport with that person. You must have the sense of trust person 100%. And it takes practice and continuous going to training myself as well. Because I'm doing it again. And speaking to other people who are in the field of NLP and the trainers and all to just bring us back to where we are. So that's how I use Neuro-Linguistic Programming in my coaching practice. And this also spills out to every minute and every day of my life. When I'm even sitting here with you, when I'm sitting at the dinner table with my husband, and I catch myself. Right away, I'll go into this mode of he'll say something and I get a trigger, then I start to tell, and I haven't even heard specifically what he meant by that. And I'll go into, oh, he put his eyebrows down like this. So that means he's angry. And yet, I don't know that unless I ask specific questions.
That's what I like about NLP. It's the communication skill it teaches you. It's understanding of the other person. And that's as a whole, even in your relationship, it could be very beneficial because sometimes we don't listen. We tend to always tell people what to this is what to do, and this is. So I love the techniques that NLP has, and I love for you to put this light on that.
Yes, and what light I would like to put on this specifically is what I had said before about making sure that it's from their map of the world. And you came to one of the trainings of the Live Your Life Now. And it's challenging sometimes to describe the outcomes because everybody does get a different outcome. And sometimes it's hard to put it to just one outcome because so many people get so many different things. Then by the end of it, it's okay, how do I explain now that what I just got if you were to describe fireworks? And you say, oh, there's a red one, a green one, and a blue one. Oh, what's a big deal about that? Or I already know what fireworks is. And then you don't get to experience that. And each individual at every workshop is coming for their...
That's why I love the name of your program, that's Dream Receivers Program. Like you were saying, you have to be open to receiving, right? If you're coming with a closed mindset into that training session, you will not get as much benefit from it. And if you're open to not assuming the outcome and just let it flow and let it be, and that's really helpful.
And that's why I love this podcast too, because your new name, holistic.
Yes, it's a holistic approach to business growth.
Holistic approach to business growth. And what better way than to know that you already have the answers that are within you? And how can we find it and pull that out? And many times people go, oh, well, relationships. Like even when I was doing a trade show with resilient women in business, some people, when I had relationships up there, I was in a relationship and it was terrible and I'm not willing to learn about relationships. I got that quite a few times. And it's not just romantic relationship. It's not just a couple relationship. It's the relationships that we are building with our clients. It's before you can even offer your programs, you need to have a relationship
100% agree
with the people. And that's why I'm a big advocate also for resilient women in business, and why I am the leader for the White Rock chapter, it's all in alignment, and it does bring that holistic approach of having great relationships, knowing, liking, and trusting that one of the presuppositions of NLP, which I love, is, and I do get pushback on this, is everyone has a positive intention for the behavior that they're having. And the pushback I always get, I'd say 85% of the time, is there is no positive intention for this person.
Yeah.
They're just horrible.
I know.
And I get it. There's some cruelty out there. The behavior that they choose to get the attention can be so wrong. And I'm not going to go into some of the horrific people out in the history that has done horrible behaviors and war and everything to get the positive attention.
Yeah.
But the question, is there another behavior possibly that I could do in order to get that same outcome,
Yes.
but with a new behavior?
Yes.
And this is where we ask the client, go away, just allow it to come. Don't just sit here right now and come up with 3 new behaviors that you're going to do instead of to get this intention. Instead, it's go away and see what comes to you. Sleep on it, allow it to come to you.
Come to you. Yeah.
And suddenly they're just doing something different to get that same intention.
Yeah. So Diane, what techniques do you use in your training? I know it's very deep because I've done the work with you, but if you can tell our audience, our listeners, a little bit about what they will experience when they'll come to your training. Yeah.
Yeah, we all want to live our life now, which is a general name for my program. And what is experienced is by getting a well-formed outcome. This can be challenging because many times when we're hoping to get a well-formed outcome, we are thinking, I don't want this, and I don't want that. This is similar to going to a restaurant. Can I take your order? I don't want this, and I don't want that. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the next question? What do you want? And that actually happened to me. My daughter and I were conflicting so much through. It's funny because she wrote me a letter at 6 years old. She said, Mom, I will never be that teenager that you're talking about. I love you, and that will never happen.
Okay.
And it was a long letter about it. And then she became a teenager.
Yes.
And I said, hey, look at your letter. And she said, I didn't know you were going to be this annoying.
Completely.
And I get it. And I know that I had positive intentions because I got into fear and I was scared that she was going to do certain things. Plus, she was diagnosed with diabetes. The nurses and doctors are putting their fists down. And so then we brought her to a psychologist and I said, fix her.
Yeah.
Can you go fix her, please? Because she's got an attitude problem. We're yelling at each other all the time. And it's like, can you just do something with her?
Yeah.
And she was actually even asking for help. Can she get help? So she's working with the psychologist for quite a few weeks. And then, okay, now, Bruce, Diane, you need to come here.
Yeah.
So I sit down in the chair and it's strange.
There's nothing wrong with me.
It's so strange because she was wearing black and both Bruce and I were in white.
Oh God.
So already
the conflict right there.
So we had this triangle going on, and it's her. So all the spotlight was on her. And the first thing she turned to me, she goes, what do you want, Diane? I said, what do you mean? This doesn't matter what I want. And then I said, actually, I want to do business again. And then it was because I had worked since I was 16 years old. Now I'm living in St. Albert, and now I get to stay home with my kids. And I didn't even know where that came from because I never asked myself that question about what do I want. And it was more of I gave up this, and I'm giving up this, and I'm giving up that, and then the conflict. And it wasn't even me saying that to them. It was because the unconscious mind is 95%. So going back to your question, which was, what do you do in these workshops? I think a well-formed outcome is the number one thing to get at the very beginning, and to work in partners to pull those questions out with any dialogue in between. And that's the hardest part for each person when they're doing the well-formed outcome for each other. And that's the hardest thing. Oh yeah, that's like my sister, or as they're doing the well-formed outcome. So it trains people in the workshop also to ask questions from this full wholeness.
Yeah. This third person approach that you were on outside, but also going inside. I also listen to a lot of podcasts and a lot of these programs that I do, and that it's like becoming better version of yourselves. You know, doing the inner deep work, like you just said. It's like we always like pointing to other people's fault, like you were, you know, like my daughter is this, but it's actually not about her. It's about you. It's about what do you want, like you just said, and you wanted that. I'm pretty sure you must feel happier after, you know, deciding to work on that.
Yes, after working on me, because we were just mirrors of each other. We both wanted the same thing.
Yes.
We both wanted freedom. We both wanted peacefulness. We both wanted harmony. We did both want that. It just doesn't seem like it because of I'm scared. So I'm going to act from a place of fear that if she keeps going like this, and it can be, say, with my son as well, like, oh my gosh, what if he doesn't go to school? What if he doesn't finish?
Right.
And then it gets in a panic of that. Oh, what if he's amounts to nothing? And and then I'm coming from this place, and I can't even find out for sure what he wants.
Yeah.
And this goes along with the people in business that we're working with too, when we're offering our products or services too. You got to find out that your need of what they want, and that takes a lot of patience and skills, because it's a lot easier just to.
So you
I'll
learn
explain it
the
as-
skills. So you learn the skills in your training, right? And how to also take those skills back home and apply them to your daily lives, in your daily lives, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I was actually causing my daughter a lot of anxiety, is what she labels it as, and I can see this as being very much, and it was because of my fear. We're talking medication. If she doesn't take her, and the nurses and doctors are putting a fist down at me, saying, you need her to eat this, you need her to inject this, and then
You're feeling the pressure. You want it to be the perfect one, wanting to do everything right. Yeah.
and maybe keeping my daughter alive would be a good thing.
Of course, yeah.
And what was happening was it gone off the radar of even diabetes. It became now a mom telling me all the time what to do.
Oh, yeah.
And that I couldn't trust her with anything. That's not what I wanted to portray. My positive intention was to keep her healthy.
Yes.
Same thing.
And that is another question that has come to my mind, Diane. It's about how you deal with a person who's going through such mental issues, right? Because yes, that person is going through something, but on the other hand, when you don't have that disease, that they say it, right? And it's like understanding them on their level with love. That is one of the things that's missing in our society. That yes, we understand, okay, yeah, he is depressed or is full of these issues, but what do we do on our part to help them?
Yes, good question. Again, you mentioned love. And this is something, again, that's what someone is needing and wanting. Yet the questions about what's important to you for reacting in that manner. What's important to you?
Okay.
What happens is when you chuck it enough, you get deeper and you find out it is love.
Yeah.
Or a fear of losing. Well, many times guilt is. until we ask those questions, we won't know. And many times we are looking for the same thing. The person who's having the challenge, so to speak, and again, this is a label. Diabetes is a label. It's not who she is. It's something that her pancreas isn't working. So she's got to take insulin to have insulin to put out the fire of sugars. It's not who she is. So many people say, I am diabetic. No.
Yeah.
I am so and I have, it really makes a difference. It's not who I am. And same with any anxiety or any mental challenges. It's many times it is a label, a diagnosis that's there, and it's being needed to be dealt with. And I also have a son who's ADHD, so he requires treatment for this as well. Dealing with these two things as a mom has been. Now I'm just remembering your question about how to deal with when they have issues. The first thing is, yes, listen to your doctor, because I have a client who came to me because she's diabetic. She knew what she needed to do. But she wasn't doing it. And she came to me because she knew that my husband and my daughter are diabetic, and she needed to deal with this. Plus her parents were type 2, and same with herself. So we walked through what's her intentions, what is her positive intentions for not following through with the diet, we don't even call it diet, because it's just lifestyle food. Choices. And how was it that she wasn't following this and she was getting sicker? She knew that she needed to do this. She needed to do activities, this type of thing. So the context is one thing, but many times the way we do one thing is the way we do many things. So
it's taking action and seeing your doctor. That is the first step, right? Yes.
So the questions, again, we ended up getting into relationships about it in the end. And again, it was part of bonding with her husband with food and different things like this. And the fear of possibly losing love by not sharing the food, and following the doctor's prescriptions. So that's where I work well alongside of professional help already, because I don't diagnose, I don't do, and as a coach, that's the whole thing, is you're pulling out what's important to them, and then working towards their well-formed outcome by the end. What I didn't know was this person was actually on verge of divorce and was going to leave her husband. And she came to me because of the diabetes. And what ended up happening is they renewed their vows.
Wow. That's a big mindset shift, I would say, right? Because from getting divorced to getting back together, and
It was, wow, he gets me now. Oh, wow, I get him now. This is where this is incredible. The testimonial from her is, we're on the same page, I think it is, and we renewed our vows, and now I have a great relationship with my husband. Yeah, that wasn't the original intention for coming to me.
It's why I love your expertise on this, because you have been working with so many clients and for so many years, and also being in that we are part of our group, that's our networking group, and when you see so many women and you meet so many women out there who are going through challenges and helping them getting away from the cross paths where you don't know what decision you'd like to make, or if it's the right choice, if it's not the right choice, and that happens to us often. Right? And I would also like to share a story about me. And when I attended your program, I was at the crossroads of knowing what to do. Like either it's my business or I join my family business. So I was at that crossroads. And I remember doing the whole workbook and whole session where we sit together, and also remember the star where we see ourselves as a third person and how we'd like us ourselves to progress. So that's definitely helped me. And by the end, like in 2 days, I knew what path I'm gonna be on and what is right for me, and it made me feel really confident in the end. So that's definitely one of the takeaway from your workshop, is to get back the confidence, because when you're confused and then you're stressed and then you don't know and then you're just in that loop. So to get out of that loop is important. And then I feel NLP is a great choice for our audience or our listeners who are listening to us right now. It's to try it out. And here we have Diane, and you can use her services. And would you like to tell our listeners where to find you?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes. So my website is dianehume.com. We also are running a Courage Confidence 21-day video challenge, which has some of these strategic questions in the 21-day video challenge. What ends up happening many times in this challenge is that people end up learning a lot about themselves and become more courageous to speaking on videos and on podcasts, and taking that expertise and getting it out into the world holistically on their own. So that I will have a link for at the bottom of this podcast. And I will also have the Live Your Life Now program. There's also an Own Your Every Day, where we take people through a mini 4-hour course of getting clear. And then the dream sculpting that we do at the end of the Live Your Life Now is something that we do online after as well. But you can get that, and I will also give you a PDF on some strategic questions that you can ask your loved one. You can ask in asking people their true needs. You can use it for that as well, so that you are, I call it chasing the ghost. Many times we think we know what the problem is, and then we end up doing that. So I will put those links there as well. And at the end of the day, it truly is about communication, experiencing it. And I'm so grateful for you attending and clarifying that crossroads. Because when we get deeper, we are making a decision that is true to us, that is not going to cause regret later, because we've gone through all of the pros and cons in a very unique way.
No, definitely. I love all your program, especially the 121-day challenge, visibility challenge, because nowadays social media marketing has become a norm. And if you're not visible and if you're not out there, who would know you? It used to work word of mouth always, but nowadays, even if you have word of mouth, they'll go back to your social media page and check you out. What are you doing? If you are expert enough to give them advice. So I'd love that challenge, of course, and our listeners can find that in our description. So go to the podcast description, and there's a free resource from Diane that will be available there and on her website. So check her out on her website. That is dianehume.com. You can check her out there. And thank you for listening to us. I hope you got so much from this episode about NLP. So thank you and have a great day.
Beautiful. Yes, and you will find some more testimonials also on the website.